afternoon and happy Monday, everyone. It's Alyssa Korb and Ken Shreve here with a look at the stock market today. We're going to break down the action for the major indexes and take a look underneath the surface as well. So Ken, give us a rundown of what we're going to be discussing today.
Absolutely, Allie. We'll take a look at some good follow through for DraftKings after a bullish earnings report last week, and also two very strong gains for Simply Foods and also Scott's Miracle-Gro.
That we will. First, a look at the major indexes. Here is a chart of the NASDAQ. Strong gains across the board today, Ken. We saw the NASDAQ closing up 3% for the day, while the S&P 500 closed up 2.4%, the Dow up 2%, and the Russell 2000 leading the way up 3.4% for the day. So give us your overall thoughts on where we are in this market.
Well, nice to see the NASDAQ above its 10-week moving average on the weekly chart. It was a decisive break of the 10-week line last week. I think the index was down 4.9%, compared to the S&P and Dow, definitely the biggest decliner last week. But so we got bullish gains today, a great way to start off the week. A lot of positive sentiment about the third vaccine that has now been approved from Johnson & Johnson. All these economic recovery plays, doing well today. So, when we look at a chart of the NASDAQ, the daily chart here, you can still see it's kind of grappling with its 10-day and 21-day moving average. So on the one hand, it's a nice bullish move above the 50-day line, but we'd still like to see this index get a little bit higher, retake that 21-day and 10-day line, and then we might be in a little better shape here. But all in all, I think a pretty constructive session, even though volume was quite a bit lower than what we saw Friday. So not a whole lot of conviction behind the buying, but very nice percentage gains.
That's right. And just digging a little bit deeper into this technical action, Ken. So the NASDAQ closed at 13,588. The 21-day line is at 13,578. However, last week's highs were right around, 13,600, a little bit above that. So while we may have closed above that downward sloping, albeit 21-day line, we have yet to pass last week's highs. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a very astute observation, and something that if the NASDAQ can do that tomorrow, it would certainly make us feel even better about this rally that we're seeing. Like I said, it was a very rough week last week for growth stocks. We had some of these growth ETFs down 6% for the week. So sometimes when you see massive selling like this in market-leading stocks, it can take a little while to prepare itself. So I know, people on IBD Live earlier today were talking about it. Really would be nice to see a little bit of a shakeout here in the market, to see the market go right back to new highs after a short pullback. Maybe might not be the best thing, but we just have to listen to the market on a daily basis. And if, like I said, if the NASDAQ can get over last week's highs and firmly move above that 10-day moving average, that might be enough to put the market back in an uptrend here.
And listen to the market, we will, because as IBD founder Bill O'Neill always liked to say, it doesn't matter what your opinion is, you have to be listening to the market. So we're going to be doing that every step of the way. And underneath the surface, DraftKings is a standout, had its quarterly report, and it is up about 12% to kick off the week here, Ken. So a very strong gain. And I think the action last week showed some pretty impressive resilience for DraftKings stock.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this used to be a leaderboard stock, and we actually took it off the leaders list ahead of earnings because we just didn't have a big enough profit cushion to justify holding it through the report. But that was okay. I mean, we just made the decision based on available information. They ended up reporting. They ended up reporting outstanding earnings. Probably the most notable aspect of the earnings report was that huge acceleration in sales. we know that DraftKings is not profitable yet. They're still a ways from profitability. But when you have a new product or service that's driving the big revenue growth that you're seeing at DraftKings, that almost always makes its way to the bottom line. So we're still very encouraged. We actually added it back to leaderboard today with this strong move over that 64.78 pivot. So, good close near highs, and we love the volume that came with the stock today. So
That's right.
happy to have it back on leaderboard.
Yeah, and made its way onto Swing Trader as well. So the stock here at new highs and nice relative strength line as well. So elsewhere, let's take a look at SMPL, Simply Good Foods Company. Ended up with a really nice gain today. When we were looking at this one on IBD Live, it was maybe up a little bit, but it too strengthened throughout the session here, Ken. So what do you think about Simply Foods here?
Yeah, it closed a little bit off highs, but still encouraged. You look at that 30.51 early entry there. It closed above that. Like I said, it closed a little bit off highs. There was really no volume in the stock at all today. Sort of like in the broad market, you can see volume has really dried up in the stock for several weeks now. But it is a nice little test of the 50-day moving average here, and to see it get over. Its recent high of 30.51 certainly was encouraging. Of course, this company is known for its Atkins meal bars and Atkins protein bars, and boy, they sure are selling a lot of them because they've got that huge sales growth. Down at the bottom there, 52% in the latest quarter, 60% the quarter before that. So they've got good fundamentals, very profitable company, and really in a nice technical setup here.
All right. Well, we will keep tabs on SMPL and Scott's Miracle-Gro, SMG, another name on our list. This stock last week pulling back below its 50-day line and its 10-week line. But today, looking to recover that level, starting off the week with a really nice gain here.
Yeah, and the news was they said sales at its U.S. Consumer Products division, they initially were expecting sort of flat to down 5%, but they're actually saying it's going to be positive. So that brought buyers into the stock today. And going back to the 50-day moving average, a good example why it's important to use both perspectives. You can see on the daily chart, it's a nice move above the 50-day moving average, and you had good volume as well. The 10-week moving average, though, still a little bit in question here. We still want to see that get above its 10-week line on the weekly chart. But in a discussion of marijuana stocks, Scott's Miracle-Gro does not normally come up at the top of the conversation, but they have been investing pretty heavily in the marijuana space, particularly in hydroponics and indoor growing, lighting, all these things. And they started investing in the marijuana space back in 2015. So there seems to be a pretty good growth runway here, and you can see sales in the latest quarter up 105%. So pretty good fundamental story at Scott's Miracle-Gro, and like this first test going on of the 50-day moving average.
Yeah, it seems like Scott's Miracle-Gro is to cannabis what PayPal and Square kind of are to Bitcoin and crypto. So kind of a cannabis adjacent play here. So we'll have to see next. It looks like maybe if we could get it back above those shorter term moving averages, that would be a positive development for the stock.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like I said, the retaking of the 50-day line today and heavy volume was a positive. Like you said, though, it's sort of in the similar position as the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 that we're watching. We want to see it get back above the 10-day and the 21-day line. And the weekly chart, like I said, it still needs to punch through that 10-week line with conviction. But a lot of good going on at Scott's Miracle-Gro, and like the stock here.
All right. So Ken, to wrap up, as investors out there see the kind of broad strength that we saw today, what do you think is the main takeaway as we head into tomorrow's session? Obviously, we'll have to see what the action is like tomorrow, but should investors be thinking about getting back into the market more? How cautious should they be at this point? And maybe what areas of the market should they be focusing on?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit tricky right now because when you have all the weakness that we saw last week, that normally one day of strength does not a new uptrend make. So, and again, the volume in the market today on the Nasdaq and the NYSE was significantly below what we saw on Friday. If indeed mutual funds and other institutional investors were buying stock today, and we were seeing institutional buying, we probably would have seen volume come in higher than what we saw Friday. So not the end of the world. I mean, bullish gains, but I think in our view, the market still needs to prove itself more. But as we talked about in IBD Live this morning, starting small. If you see a stock finding support, maybe it's a PayPal finding support at its 10-week line, and you want to buy just a little bit of stock, that's probably okay. So nibble selectively, but we're still not in a position where we can make big bets. You do that in the early stages of a new market uptrend when you see a follow through day. So just kind of small ball right now seems to be the best course of action.
All right, Ken. Well, thank you so much for that analysis today. And Ken mentioned IBD Live, so make sure you are tuning in tomorrow morning for the latest from our daily morning live stream. We're sharing our screens, talking about actionable stocks, stocks for your watch list, overall market conditions, portfolio management tips, and more. And you can check out all the details at investors.com/IBD Live. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.